All right, we are on question 8 for our worksheet, the part 1 worksheet for 10.4. So we're looking at this question. It says a farmer has 10 cows, 8 goats, and 6 sheep. He wants to take 4 cows, 4 goats, and 2 sheep with him to the fair. How many ways can he choose what animals to bring? If you haven't yet, I really want you to try this example first. So pause the video if you haven't tried it yet, and really just kind of sit and think about how to break this problem down. Really think about what techniques we've learned and how to put them in play. And then restart the video once you either need a little push in the right direction or when you're ready for the whole solution. So I want to start to think about breaking this question down and thinking about how many events are there? Can I break this problem down into multiple events or multiple pieces? And when we start to think about it, well, I really have to start at least with breaking it down into the different types of animals, because he has to separately pick cows, then from goats, then from sheep. Right, he has to pick from the group of cows and the goats and the sheep. So at least those 3 need to be separate. So we would really have pick cows, pick goats, pick sheep. It's at least a starting point. So again, if you didn't try it yet, pause here if you just needed that first part, because now what we need to think about is what's going to go in each of these blanks, what goes in each of those spots. So how do I pick the cows? What's really happening in that question? Let's focus on that one first. So think about what we're doing, what the farmer's doing when he's picking the cows. Well, he needs 4 different cows, and he has a group of 10 of them to choose from. And all he's doing is bringing them with him to the fair. So really, the order that we pick the cows in doesn't matter. They're not doing different roles or different responsibilities. We just need a group of them. So really, by pick cows, what I mean is pick a group of 4 from, let's see, he has 10 total. Now, how do we do that, right? How do we pick groups? Well, we use combinations. So really, the event of picking the cows is a combination. So in this blank, we need a combination where from the total of 10 things, we're going to choose 4 of them. Now, I'm going to have to compute what that is, but there's also more events, more parts to this problem in the sequence of the problem. Because beyond picking cows, he also needs to pick goats. Well, let's think about how he's picking goats. He needs to pick a group of, this time, also 4, but from the goats, and the options for goats is he has 8 goats. So he needs to pick 4 from 8. So from 8 things, pick a group of 4 of them. And then for the sheep, he needs to pick a group of, he wants to bring 2 sheep, and he can choose them from his total of 6 sheep. So it's a combination of from 6. Pick 2 of them. So we have 3 different combinations that we're going to compute. And then notice what we're doing with them is with them, we're then doing sequential counting principle, which says multiply those numbers together. So let's try and do that together. Now, we have an option. You could compute the 3 separately and then put them back in this. That's fine. Or we can just kind of keep working all of them in a row in a nice little string. So what I might do is kind of do that, so sort of work all of them side by side. So combinations of 10 things, picking 4 of them. So in that one, the numerator, we've got 10 factorial on the top. Then we're picking 4 things, so it's going to be over 4 factorial times 10 minus 4 factorial. And then we're going to multiply that by the goats, which the goats was 8 factorial over, again, we're picking 4, so 4 factorial, and then this one is 8 minus 4 factorial. And then the sheep is going to be 6 factorial over, we're picking 2 of them, so 2 factorial times 6 minus 2 factorial. So simplifying what those are, at least the subtraction, we've got 10 factorial over 4 factorial, 6 factorial, that's going to be times 8 factorial over 4 factorial, 4 factorial. And then we have 6 factorial over 2 factorial, and 6 minus 2 is 4, so factorial. Now each one we're going to work where we're going to, again, start to expand the top until you hit the larger of the numbers in the bottom. So start to write out 10 factorial, so 10 times 9 times 8 times 7 times, when we get to 6, we'll just stop at 6 factorial, and then we'll be over 4 factorial, 6 factorial, and we'll cancel those 6 factorials. Doing the same idea with the 8, we would have 8 times 7 times 6 times 5 times 4 factorial. Notice they're both 4 factorial, so they're the same size. An important thing to remember when you're simplifying that, when I cancel the 4 factorials, I can only cancel one of them because we can only cancel 1 4 with 1 4, 1 3 with 1 3, a 2 with a 2. So it's a 1-for-1 cancellation. So just one of them goes away. And then the 6 factorial, we would go 6 times 5 times 6 minus 2 is 4, so we would have 4 factorial, and then over 2 factorial. 4 factorial, and the 4 factorials cancel. So then writing out what those look like, we've got 10 times 9, 10 times 9 times 8 times 7, over 4 factorial is 4 times 3 times 2 times 1. And then we're left over here with the goats with 8 times 7 times 6 times 5 over 4 factorial, which is also 4 times 3 times 2 times 1. And then for the sheep, we were left with 6 times 5 over 2 factorial, which is 2 times 1. So remember, while we're working, right, this was cows, this was goats, and this one is sheep. That's why we still have these 3 things all working together. So then simplifying these, if we do the numerator of this first one, 10 times 9 times 8 times 7, you get 5,040. And 4 times 3 times 2 times 1, if you throw it in the calculator, is 24. And then we've got 8 times 7 times 6 times 5 is 1,680. And then 4 times 3 times 2 times 1 is 24. And then 6 times 5 is 30. Over 2 times 1 is 2. So we've got 5,040 divided by 24, which is 210. 1,680 divided by 24 is 70. And 30 divided by 2 is 15. And again, remember, if you had done all of this separately, right, if you had done like 10, choose 4, so the combinations of 10 things picking 4 separately, you would have found 210. And then we're basically putting it back in that blank for the cows. You'd find 70 for the combination of 8 choosing 4 things. You'd put that back in for the goats. And then for the combination of 6 picking 2, you put that back in for the sheep. And to combine them back together, we have to remember we're using sequential counting principle. So that's why we're multiplying these 3 numbers. We had 3 different events. We found the numbers that go in each of those blanks, and then we're going to multiply them together. In total, if you multiply those together, there's 220,500 ways. So that many different possible combinations of his animals that he could bring to the farm. So what this problem is doing is it's really helping us see that there might be times where we need to start with sequential counting principle, but then in some of those blanks in the middle of sequential counting principle, we might have to count them using a combination. That event might be picking a group, which we use a combination to count.